The Trump administration has been pushing hard against American universities, threatening funding cuts at institutions that it says are using discriminatory practices, though it goes deeper than that. We'll talk about it in a moment. And now many of the institutions, by the way, well, they're pushing back, not just rolling over. More than 150 college and university presidents, for example, signed a joint letter yesterday condemning Trump's, quote, political interference, targeting educational institutions. Among the signers was Harvard, which, of course, have been in the news. That also filed a lawsuit, that institution, against the Trump administration after the White House froze more than $2 billion of federal funding that Harvard had been allocated. The Trump administration says that the funding freeze is in response to what it views as the allowance of anti-Semitic behavior on campus. I would call that a pretext. We'll talk more about it. All goes back, though, to the pro-Palestinian protests that took place at many colleges and universities last spring. Here's some sound.
The president has made it quite clear that it's Harvard who has put themselves in the position to lose their own funding by not obeying federal law. And we expect all colleges and universities who are receiving taxpayer funds to abide by federal law.
By the way, again, the federal law the Trump administration is accusing Harvard of violating is called Title VI. What exactly is Title VI? Why does the administration think they have a case against the university? Why does the university think it has a case against the Trump administration? For all of this, we're joined now by CBS News legal contributor Caroline Polisi. Caroline, thank you very much for being here. So I keep saying there's more to it than just the anti-Semitism and the pro-Palestinian stuff, because the dream of conservatives for many decades has been to take the liberal tilt out of higher ed and other institutions as well. It seems like there's a pretext for that. But take me through the legal arguments, whether there's merit, what the case is.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the legal side, Title VI, which you just mentioned there, which the Trump administration is using as potentially a pretext for this funding freeze, is part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And basically what it says is that institutions that receive federal funding from the government cannot discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin. And Judaism would fall in that category. The administration has been upfront about its disappointment in the way many universities have reacted in the wake of these pro-Palestinian, issues coming to campus and how they are protecting Jewish students. And Harvard has admitted to some short failings in that regard. However, the letter rescinding the federal funding named that, but it also alluded to this air of entitlement that these institutions have. The administration really sees Harvard as emblematic of this sort of woke bastion of academic ideology. And they're demanding that Harvard root out this, these types of beliefs. And what it is it's really viewpoint discrimination. He wants to make Harvard Trump University. He wants to get in academics and students who have a more diverse range of viewpoints. But what that really means is sort of these anti-woke and non-liberal viewpoints.
Harvard is arguing that this is a trampling of the First Amendment, but wasn't Harvard also in negotiations with the Trump administration and things were kind of moving, and then now there are lawsuits?
Absolutely.
What turned?
Yeah, and you saw Columbia engaged in a real back and forth over this specific issue. Harvard now is really pushing back when it filed this lawsuit, and I will say they have really strong legal arguments, not only of which is based on the merits of this case, but the procedure by which Trump did this. I mean, this is classic Trump shoot first, aim later, not following any of the procedural safeguards enshrined statutorily in Title VI.
What does that mean?
So, Title VI requires that he inform the university that there be a potential voluntary amelioration of the issues, and that there's a hearing, a 30-day notice. I mean, all sorts of things.
There was a process that
Correct, a process.
Right.
But Harvard has a really strong case on the First Amendment issue. Viewpoint discrimination is illegal on the part of the government. And academics are academic institutions have even more protections in the First Amendment space. So Trump is really trying to get his viewpoint into Harvard, and it's really illegal.
What do you think is going to happen? Does this get settled? I mean, the timetables of legal processes often are longer than, the 4 years that a person can be president. So what happens next?
Yeah, and that's really what Trump has used to his favor in terms of bargaining power. He has a lot of leverage here. The executive branch is much more agile than the judicial branch. litigation of this sort is glacial. It could take years. I suspect they will come to the bargaining table. There will be some sort of reconciliation here that doesn't result in protracted litigation and appeals. However, Harvard has a great legal argument here, and so that's their leverage here. But I don't think anybody wants this to be long and protracted.
So Harvard has a great legal argument. It seems clear that the Trump people think they have a great political argument for their base.
Absolutely.
And so on we go.
Yeah, exactly. And again, this is part and parcel of the Trump playbook in all aspects, in law firms, in lots of things across the board.
Would you say media? Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say the AP case. Yes, exactly.
We'll see what happens. All right, Caroline, thank you so much.